One, and we are back live on Circle X channel. Apologies for the technical inconvenience. We had now we are back fully online on this Circle X 2030 platform that you all know is a community of visionaries, futurists, disruptors, celebrities, high net worth individuals, and all smart people engaged in building a new vision of the planet and humanity by the year 2030. So we are here today with a very special character. Is Per Wimmer. Per is I would say a lover of our planet, and not only because his mental frame, it goes into the space, and so he sees our planet, the planet Earth, from a broader perspective, and that's a very unique, very special like vision and life experience that we have the honor and the privilege to share with the Circle X audience today. So without further notice, I would give the floor to Per to share with us your life story, first of all. You know, coming from your native Denmark, and then approaching to the UK and United States, where you have developed your interests and your businesses. And then we will go a little bit deeper into the details of your interest for the space, and how you think that may contribute to build a safer and cleaner planet for all. So, Per, thank you very much for joining us today. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. My name is Per Wimmer. I'm a financier, philanthropist, author. But perhaps equally exciting, or even more excitingly, also an adventurer and a future astronaut. The plan is for me to go into space, hopefully sometime in the near future. That's very much the plan. To date, I've had a career within business. I was originally a lawyer. I've got 3 law degrees behind me, 2 masters and 1 BA. And I've also got a degree in political science, and finally my 4th master was from Harvard in international relations, business, and finance. So whilst my background was law originally, I never really practiced law that much. Once I graduated from Harvard, I went into finance. I joined Goldman Sachs on Wall Street. Worked there, enjoyed the good times. This was during the .com boom, etc. And later transferred to London, where I helped build up their Scandinavian businesses. And later I had a couple of other stops, a couple of other companies. And then on the 4th of October 2008, which was exactly the day of Sputnik, 50 years later, I thought it was a good day for a launch. I launched my own first company. Today I've got 3 companies: Wimmer Financial, which is my investment bank; Wimmer Family Office, which is our principal investment arm; and Wimmer Horizon, which is a quant CTA hedge fund. So all of those are based in London. But in parallel with those activities, I am an adventurer. I have traveled to 84 countries on Earth. I have been living with the Indians in the Amazon jungle. I have I've traveled Africa thin and thick. I've been diving with sharks in Fiji. I've done a lot of these sort of Indiana Jones things that you know people like to do. I've also skied at 5,500 meters, which is the highest skiing station in the world. And perhaps my claim to fame to date was I conducted the world's first tandem skydive above Mount Everest back in 2008. Why did I do that at that time? Space was getting delayed, and I just felt that it was time to fill up the calendar with another adventure, and there's this magnetic draw towards Everest, and that sort of certainly pulled me in that direction. And I figured it's sort of en route to space. It's the highest point on Earth, so why not do something with it? We originally looked into trying to climb Everest. Turned out that's very dangerous, and nevertheless, lots of people are doing it. When I do adventures, I prefer to do things that are truly pioneering or record-breaking, or ideally stuff that people haven't done before, or where there's a true challenge. So that's why we decided to skydive it. Nobody had done that before. That was a world's first available, which is great. And so that's sort of been the biggest adventure to date. But I've done a number of other slightly more pedestrian things. But my next big thing is going to be space, and my plan is to become an astronaut within the next 18 months. So watch that space.
We will certainly, for sure, and use our media platforms also to share your life story and your adventures with our audience. That is certainly an enriching content to share. And by the way, since you have mentioned this interest of yours in adventure, I recall now that I interviewed a few weeks ago a lama from the Nepalese Buddhist temple up into the Himalayan mountains. And he was sharing with us his experience being, confined by intention into a Buddhist monastery, in the height of the Himalaya. And he was sharing with us his inner spiritual journey, and that I consider to be a spiritual adventure that he has undertaken. Since you've been mentioning also, your human interest in adventures, my question is how enriching and why you think that this type of experiences can help us growing as human beings and understand a little bit better how in harmony or disharmony we are as human beings with our planet.
Well, it is true that the human spirit and we as humanity, we have some sort of internal DNA that sort of tells us we gotta explore, we gotta discover. It isn't our DNA as humans. And I guess that's what has made us so advanced as a civilization compared to, say, many animals. Not to say that they're not advanced, but we're certainly more advanced, one would argue. And I think that is because of this inner drive that all humans have, and I certainly have it. The drive to discover, the drive to learn, education. There's a reason why I've got 4 master's degrees, because I was curious. I wanted to learn about stuff. There's the University of Life and there is academic university. I like both in equal measure. And that desire to learn, to push the boundaries, I think is what makes us very special as human beings. And it goes to the core of not just adventure and exploration, but actually of human progress. And in a small way, around the world, whenever the adventurers are doing their things, etc., it contributes a little bit to the further advancement, the further progress, as well as, and this is the second part of my mission, we try to inspire children, to be up for living out their dreams, whatever those dreams might be. I live it out every time I do my adventures. But my hope is once we show and share those adventures, how hard it is, how tough it is, how difficult it is to achieve, and you wonder, why would you do that? Why would you put yourself through these things? Well, we do it because we can, and because it's a challenge. We're always up for a good challenge. But at the same time, we inspire kids on Earth and to live out their dreams, whatever it might be. They might be completely different to ours, no problem there. But that is what has made us special as humans. And on a broader scale, when you look at astronauts or more professional government people, it's the same thing. We allocate budgets to go and explore, to develop. We don't know necessarily what's the end destination, but in the process, we end up creating research and development discoveries. We have to invent things that works in space. But it turns out there's actually multiple applications of some of that stuff on planet Earth, and that makes our life better on planet Earth. So there's a lot of side effect, positive side effect by having adventures and other people, including from governments, who pushes the boundaries of what is possible.
Absolutely. No, that's very interesting. And I share this assessment of what is going on right now in our societies. But one question that I want to ask you, dear Per, is you mentioned about this urge, this inner DNA propension we have towards discovery, towards pushing the boundaries of our minds and bodies. And this is certainly an urge that we all have from inside. But at the same time, our societies are becoming more and more digitalized, and the new technologies are increasingly influencing the way we think and the way we operate, right? And especially in this post-COVID era, the use of new technologies is even more appreciated. And actually, we must say that we can share your life story and your inner and outer journeys with massive audience globally, thanks to these technologies that we are using today. So I always try to understand with my guests this fragile and difficult balance between inner dynamics and outer dynamics, in particular how new technologies are evolving. So in your experience, in your highly sophisticated analysis of modern societies, what would be your advice to our audience to find that balance between human performance and the use of new technologies?
Well, I think the new technologies, the pace of innovation is effectively accelerating faster and faster every day. What we have achieved in the past 30 years is so much more advanced compared to, say, the previous 30 years or the previous again. I mean, the pace of acceleration, the pace of innovation is accelerating. So the good news is we as humanity advance and progress faster and faster and faster, allowing for technologies to be developed and more efficiencies to emerge. But as a society, I think it's also important that we pause for 1 second and remember it's not everybody who's on that fast train. There are certainly people who, for whatever reason, don't have access to that technology the same way we consider it for granted. Or don't have the skills or the desire to do it. And what do we do about them? We got to make sure we stay coherent as a society and nobody's left behind. And part of that can be a financial element. Part of that can be access to technology or equipment. And part of that can also be related to age, potentially. We got to make sure we all on that express train, because otherwise you're going to see more and more divergence in society. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a lot of divergence and polarization taking place in the world today through politics, global politics, populism in various countries. We've seen it a lot in the US and the UK and across the globe. So what we don't need more of is polarization. We need technology to make life better, more efficient, but we got to make sure we stay connected. And then my third point in that regard is that we also got to make sure whatever technology we use, we've got to make sure that it's governed by sensible human beings, and we never take away the human element to it, because technology can be a forceful tool for good, but it can also be a forceful tool for bad. So we got to make sure there's some appropriate checks and balances and guidance in place, in particular relating to privacy, in relating to how the technology is used, in particular in military senses and what have you. So it's got to be appropriate checks and balances in place, so we make sure that a sensible mind, a sensible human mind, is actually the guidance chip here. And if we do that, then we can really achieve even greater things at even greater pace in the future. But it certainly is very exciting to be part of that. And specifically within the space sector, we see an enormous acceleration. They are in some ways at the forefront of this. We are currently going through what I would label as a new dawn, almost like a mini revolution within private space. It's almost the same excitement for those of us who are involved in this compared to, say, the late 60s, early 70s when the Apollo program took place. It is that level of excitement that we are seeing, simply because a lot more capital is going in. In the past year, as much capital has gone in there as in the past 10 years into the sector. So more capital being available into the sector, and that accelerates that pace of innovation, and that opens up wide and great opportunity. And that's precisely what happens when you bring in private enterprise into a new industry, or a new industry for private enterprise. That allows for a lot of innovation, competition, etc. Unusual private sector dynamics kicks in. And that's why we have great achievements, such as we saw recently with Elon Musk and SpaceX taking successfully 2 astronauts to the International Space Station and back again, allowing NASA to focus on their budget on other things, Mars and beyond, and that sort of thing, which is frightfully exciting. So now they can just hire the taxi service at SpaceX and focus on the what they would consider more difficult stuff.
Yeah, certainly the private sector plays a critical role in innovation. But Per, you mentioned a concept that is very deep and very important in my view, which is not leaving anyone behind. This is actually one of the key principles of the Sustainable Development Goals that were approved by all governments in 2015 in the UN General Assembly. And you know that actually where we met was at the margins of the United Nations Climate Action Summit in September 2019, when you also delivered a very interesting presentation on stage that was very much appreciated. So I would like to go a little bit deeper with you on this concept of not leaving anyone behind, which you already mentioned a little bit, because you say that innovation and technological advancement can foster polarization and inequalities, or can facilitate more inclusion and more participation. It's really how we use it, right? So I know that in your work and with your family office and your enterprises, you also do philanthropic activities. So maybe you want to share with us a bit more about the micro things that you do that reflect this contribution that we all can do and must do to make sure that those who have not access to resources can still participate into the development of the economy and societies and achieve a better standard of life.
Yes, we as astronauts, we feel an obligation, but also a privilege and a pleasure to share our experiences as a source of inspiration, and we do it particularly within Wimmer space to children, wherever they are. Try to inspire, try to promote, the interest in science and space, but also more generally, live out your dream. I have 7 fundamental values that I like to share that we use as guiding principles. And those are the principles that have sort of taken me to where I am today, both professionally, personally, and ultimately into space. So they can take you very far. Those 7 fundamental values are, very briefly, number 1, always think out of the box, always be open for new ideas, always have the mental surplus to think out of the box and to absorb that next great idea that might be right in front of you. Number 2, whatever you do, follow your heart, follow your passion, and have fun doing it. Figure out what's in your heart, and if you use your passion to whatever you want to do, that is the strongest fuel you can put on the fire, and you'll achieve great, great things. Number 3, once you've figured out what it is you want to do, what you're really burning for, your desires, your passion, stop talking about it, get on with it. Focus and execute, 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 and be relentless about execution. Once you've taken the decision, it is the point of no return. You get on with it. Number 4, time discipline. Manage your time so that your values corresponds to how you use your time. Time is something you think about later in life, not so much when you're young, but you suddenly become aware that time is actually a very rare commodity, and the countdown is ticking in the background, even as we are speaking right here. Number 5, teamwork. 1 + 1 + 1 = 5. Why? Because synergies are created within teams. We are particularly aware of it within the space sector because nobody can do everything. We need great engineers, we need astronauts, space enthusiasts, people with political connections so we can get access to the bases. We need doctors, we need capital, we need all sorts of things, and no single person can do all of that. So teamwork is absolutely important if you want to achieve great things, and that includes going into space. Number 6, risk reward. Whatever you do, think about, is the risk I'm taking on is that justified by the potential upside? Not everybody on the video here today would be willing to risk their lives potentially of going into space. They might not think it's worth it. Fair enough. I'm not asking you to. I think that the risk we have is minimal. It's not zero, it's something, and we have lost people along the way, 4 people in the program. So it's certainly not a zero risk. But I think the risk and probabilities that we take on board just are okay, given this enormous upside there is by going into space and living out your dream, or my dream. And then number 7, and this is the most important value of them all within the Wimmer 7 fundamental values, that's the following. Whatever you do, whatever you get up to, always make sure to inspire others and give back. You can do that in your local community. It doesn't have to be money necessarily. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. You can just be the good citizen, the good friend who helps out another friend, who helps out other contacts or people you may not know, but you just do it because it's the right thing. Or it can be you do it on more global scale with organizations, etc. It doesn't matter. If we all do a little bit extra every day, it's a better world altogether. Charity starts at home and it expands throughout the globe. And we all have to have that mentality. And therefore, number 7 is the most important. Inspire and give back. And you'll be surprised, because even though you do it out of the good heart and you're doing the right thing, suddenly, like a boomerang, when you least expect it, something very positive comes back and lands on your plate. So you could even argue that it also worked from a self-interest point of view, even though you might be very charitable when you set out to do it. Those are the 7 fundamental values. Try them out, see how it works, and good luck about your dreams.
No, we appreciate your advice and you know, crystallizing these concepts in a nutshell, which is very inspiring and very helpful as well to everybody in order to converge, as I said before, energy, good results for ourselves as well as our communities and at a larger scale, the whole humanity. But one thing, one aspect that I want to share with you, Per, is the relation between everything you said, these 7 principles, with our responsibility to treat our bodies and our health properly. For me, this is, you know, in addition to be obviously a physical element of our life, you know, the way we eat, the way we drink, the way we move, the way we sleep, but it's also a spiritual responsibility to treat ourselves well. And so inspire others to do the same. Because if we want to build good things in life, we need the shape, the look, the health, and the energy to do so. So how would you use those 7 principles to help people also enhancing their feeling, their good feelings about personal health and personal physical performance, so that they actually have the possibility to implement those principles?
Well, I strongly believe there's a very strong synergy and interaction between your mental health and your physical health. And when it comes to physical health, part of that translates into things like what you eat. You know, so the healthier food you eat, the healthier lifestyle you eat, don't smoke, etc., the better it is. You feel better as a person, you feel prouder, you feel greater, and that translates into a better physical performance, which again in turn has a positive impact on your mental health as well. So, but at the same time also, mental health is important in its own right, because ultimately it's the brain that guides what you do, your actions, you know, whether you eat healthy or not. Whether you decide to let things go a little bit and in, you know, take in some bad things, eat bad things or whatever. So both the things are very, very important. But if you can achieve this consciousness about a healthy lifestyle and therefore also being good in your mind, feeling balanced, feeling happy with your life and your lifestyle and etc., I think you have some key ingredients for a potential happy life, because you do feel good when you physically feel good. If you exercise a lot, do a lot of things, your blood streams work better, there's more energy, and that energy translates into positive vibes when you interact with people, because you're the fun one to hang out with. You do fun stuff, you have more ideas, more energy, etc. So all of that ties in together. So in short, it's important to eat well and eat healthily. Don't have to be a fanatic, but just in general, eat well, do good exercise, and in general, enjoy you know, a good social life as well, where you interact with good colleagues or good friends, etc.
Okay, Per, I think that I'm having connection issues, but the conversation is being recorded. We see you very well on screen, so that's not a problem. Let me now lead this show towards its end. We have this half an hour conversation that in my view is very enriching and very inspiring to our audience. Your life story is really extraordinary, so it's a privilege to get those inputs to enhance our personal and professional performance, and also try to do well for the planet and humanity. So in this perspective, and this is a question that I make to all my guests in all shows, is about the vision of the planet and the global society in the year 2030. So in 10 years from now, actually now it's becoming 9.5 years. So time is running, and we started this decade with this COVID pandemic that in some ways has disrupted many dynamics for the good and the bad, of course. But without having a crystal ball, how do you envision the planet and the world society in 10 years from now?
Well, it's very difficult to predict where we're going to be in 10 years, but I would certainly encourage that we take better care of our planet, for starters. I think one of the things that we realize as astronauts when we see things a little bit from above is actually how special planet Earth is, but also how fragile it is. If you look at planet Mars, that at some point had oceans and water and etc. But something happened. The equivalent of the disappearance of the ozone layer went away, and therefore it was left all naked. And look where we are today. It's a red planet that's very dusty and gets very cold and very hot at times. I think we got to be very conscious about protecting our Earth, our precious planet Earth, beautiful and very unique as it is in our solar system. So that's certainly one thing I would like to encourage. I've written a book called The Green Bubble, where I go through some of the specifics about certain technologies that work to make the world a better and greener place, what works, what doesn't work, also commercially and from a financial perspective. But otherwise, more in general, I would encourage people to use a lot of technology, keep this innovation going. That is how we have advanced as human beings. I personally hope there'll be a lot more space exploration taking place. It looks like there's an accelerated pace taking place both in the private sector and amongst governments. So you'll probably see more activities on planet Mars, for instance, which is a big target for missions here. We've had three launches to Mars just this summer at home. So very, very exciting. There'll be a lot more going on in space in the future. I would predict. And more in general, I just want people to be good citizens and think about each other and be very charitable. We can all make this planet a better place, and it is our duty and privilege to give back, to help out wherever we can. Not everybody is at the same advanced stage, and it's our duty to give back and to help out, and that's what I do within my philanthropic efforts. As well as many other great people are doing. So let's keep the pace up of innovation. That's how we progress. Let's keep having fun. Let's think out of the box and let's do it all together. And stop talking about it, but get on with it. Execute, and remember to give back. Then I think you have the recipe for a happy life and hope for also a happy planet.
And we will certainly follow your advice and your vision and your life story that is inspiring. It is motivating for us all. We will follow up with an additional post, so to maybe share those 7 principles that you outlined earlier, but also in writing, so that our audience can have access to that, as well as the links of your books. And I already shared some of the interviews that you have given to the Financial Times and other magazines, so that everybody can have access to your content. We are doing that totally for free to promote and to contribute to this global movement that is critical to build a new platform for the planet in the year 2030. And that's why we reach out to disruptors, innovators, visionaries, futurists, high net worth individuals like you that can play a critical role, maybe a little bit more than others, even though it is necessary that everybody follows these principles of respect towards ourselves, as well as respect towards the planet, so that we all live in harmony and build a world that is cleaner, that is safer, more equitable, and more prosperous for everybody. And with this, I sincerely thank you once again for your time, for sharing your content, your life, your professional background with us. I'm sure that the audience has very much appreciate that. Please stay tuned on Circle X channel, and take care of yourself. Much love. See you soon. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.